Motherfucker. Sorry, hi. Do you remember? Do you remember the Thundercats like recording session audio?
I don't think so. I have no idea what this is.
Nope.
You don't remember that?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh my God. Wait, John definitely would. It was like recordings from the studio when the cast was doing Thundercats. And so like one of them is like Panthro is like, get your foot off the blasted samoflange. And then the guy just goes like, the fuck is a samoflange? And at one point, like Snarf is annoying. Whoever the voice actor for Snarf is annoying. Jesus, what Lion-O? Mm-hmm. And the Lion-O just goes, shut up, you fuck.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I've also just accidentally eaten an apple when I'm not supposed to, so I might have to run away and EpiPen my thigh. We'll see.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see. If y'all see my face just like turn pink and get puffier than normal, just let me know.
Yeah, I'll call it out.
Because that means I'm dying. Hooper, your beard looks amazing.
Thank you. I just haven't been shaving it.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, the whole reason I shaved it in the first place, like at the very end of the year, was I just screwed up trimming it. Like I was trying to get like a thing, and like I accidentally my hand slipped. I went like right at the jaw, and I was like, well, shit. So I was just like, you know what we do when this happens? Just cut it all off.
I willingly cut it off for Halloween and sent you guys a photo. I was like, this was a mistake. It was a huge mistake.
It's always a mistake. We woke up Kellan and pulled him into the show this week to talk about Project Hail Mary.
I've been sleeping since the last time I was on the episode, on the show.
Kellan goes in
like a Nosferatu.
Yeah.
We put Kellan back in cryo like the Winter Soldier. We don't need him.
Stoveratu. Demolition Man.
Yeah, Demolition Man. All right, so
I'm well versed into two shells for wiping my butt.
The seashells. Yes.
Wait, that's the right movie, right?
Yes, it is.
You're right.
Okay.
You are
Took me a second.
correct.
I thought Two Shells was a rapper. It took me a minute.
Two shells.
Two Shells.
And Taco Bell won the fast food wars.
Hooper made me watch Demolition Man for this show.
I did.
For the first time.
I don't
regret it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't recall you complaining.
No, I don't regret it.
Yeah.
I don't regret it. Yeah. It's just a funny anecdote.
Yeah.
I would not have ever watched it if not for this show.
Is that me?
How many special things change?
I need you to come with us. The sun is dying.
How many lives live strange?
You have a doctorate in molecular biology.
And I ride a bike to work. And it's not for exercise.
If we do nothing, everything on this planet will go extinct, including us.
My ship. I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. So, I met an alien. He's a genius engineer. And if I can't understand what he's saying, he puts on a little puppet show for me and my tiny brain. And you know what? I don't mind it. His planet's dying too. We're here for the same reason. Grace, Rocky, save stars. Am I expendable? It's almost like you don't care if I die. Hold on, you have to talk about it?
The consensus here is that it would be preferable if you did not die.
Thanks, guys.
You're a great scientist, Dr. Grace. And a great human being. The world is counting on you.
champagne supernova in the sky. In a champagne supernova.
It's now or never.
How many special people change?
Project Hail Mary, new film. By the time this is out, it'll be in theaters for a couple weeks now. So if you haven't seen it, you could still do that. Directed by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller. Screenplay, didn't know this, Drew Goddard. Based on Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, which was a movie that I think we all liked. Also the author of, I think it's Artemis, that
Artemis,
no one has tried to adapt.
Phil Lord and Miller were going to do that first, and then I think they
pivoted for some
I think
reason.
they pivoted to Project Hail Mary, but Artemis was their initial intention.
That's what started it. Yeah.
The more you know. Okay. All right. So, this is a movie. It's starring Ryan Gosling. And honestly, a bunch of actors you don't recognize. Sandra Hüller, James Ortiz, Lionel. I thought that said Lionel Beyonce. Lionel Boyce. Yep, that's what I thought when I saw these credits. Who?
Is that one the pastry chef from The Bear?
Yeah, I think that's the guy from The Bear. Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he's great. Love that guy.
This is a movie in which Ryan Gosling is in space and trying to save everybody. That's the plot of the film.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's really as simple as that. Things ensue, complications happen, story things happen. I read The Martian and Project Hail Mary like in a row last year, I think it was. And the first person I remember texting about it was Kellan. Big fan of the book myself. And then let me just go straight to it. Kellan, what did you think of the movie?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot like that? It's almost like I was supposed to prepare thoughts for this.
It's almost like this
podcast.
is a show, and
It's an improv. It's an improvisation.
So, right off the bat, I'll say it in a way that will actually kind of piss Connor off. I am not a fiction reader. If I read, which
I'm not either.
Is honestly not that much, I'm a nonfiction type of reader. Actually,
I'd say about 20% of what I read is fiction. So I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Not, yeah. I'm largely reading nonfiction.
Then I know that you read in a much larger volume than me, but I think our proportion is probably the same.
Sure.
And it's pretty obvious to me that like when I choose fiction novels to read, I choose something within like the sci-fi realm or something that has to do with my main interest of nonfiction reading, which is either usually history, or science or astronomy, or just any kind of like physics-based sort of stuff. I love the book. I think it's my favorite Weir novel. The Martian's great for other reasons.
Yeah.
Artemis is great for other reasons. I think that's the more story-driven one and character-driven one that he's written. As far as just like sheer number of characters, that one actually has like a moon-based society at its core. But I really loved this book. I'll talk about the book briefly before I talk about my opinions on the film. But the book itself is basically like your antagonist is just the specter of like figuring out through your own knowledge, like how to solve a problem. So one of the funny things that I saw from like critiques of the film is that like one guy was like, there's no bad guy, there's no conflict. And I'm like, this is like the biggest conflict you could have, which is like the sun is going to die and humanity is going to like literally all die. Billions of people are going to die.
Yeah.
But because it's a bit more of an abstract as a concept of a villain, I guess to say it. Some people saw it as flippant and kind of like a fluff.
If I don't understand it, I don't like it.
And that's not everybody, because if you look at the IMDb breakdowns and stuff, you're looking at like 95 plus for audience and critic scores. So I think the proof is in the pudding. I do think that the book, the reasons why I love the book are kind of inherently absent from the film. So the film, in my opinion, kind of had to propose itself to me in a way that was more manageable for, I was going to say an hour and a half long film, a 2 hour and 38-minute long film. So the strengths of the book lie in how Ryland Grace and Rocky use their disparate levels of science knowledge together to solve these problems that plague both of their societies. The book makes that front and center. Like it puts you in, I think it's third person perspective, right, Connor? I think it's third person.
Yes. Yeah. There's no I.
And so like because it's third person, there's a little bit more of kind of like a narrator aspect that can be brought to like how the problems are solved and all this stuff. And if you have a vague understanding, a lot of the physics behind what's going on, it makes it really that much more engaging. But the book is also really good at explaining those things to you. If you kind of came in from a base level lack of knowledge of some of the concepts. And so I would say that before we get into spoiler territory, I'll kick it over to Dustin, I guess, or Connor after me. I just think that the film had to play it a lot simpler. It left a lot of things, not only like sometimes film conversions will steer around something to make the audience not even ask a certain question. But I actually think based on how many questions that, my girlfriend Becca was asking me, how many the questions a couple of other friends that saw it separately from me were like, but what was this? What that was unexplained. I do feel like that the film dumbed itself down is a strong term. I think it turned itself into more of a buddy. I even saw somebody describe it, a critic describe it as like a kid's movie. And I kind of like balked at that, but I was like, well, it's not really wrong. Like, it treats everything very surface level. And if you didn't know what was going on, you were just like, wow, this is fun to look at. I don't know a lot of the concepts and stuff. But if you have the knowledge of the book, you're basically watching like a Cliff Notes version of the book that skips over what I consider to be the more engaging things about the story. Like, aside from the camaraderie that he has with Rocky, that I think the movie was obviously pretty great at. I just think that it is hard to watch this film from the standpoint of someone who read the book, who would love to just see all of those intricacies played out. And at that point, you'd have to watch like a mini series or a long form series of television. So essentially any complaints that I have about it, I just understand that the medium demanded it. The creatives behind it, like, that isn't exactly their vibe. I think Lord and Miller are much more focused on making for an entertaining, fun story that has some good heart. Like, there were very few dry eyes in the cinema. I knew what was coming, so obviously I wasn't thinking a specific thing was going to happen that my girlfriend was like inconsolable about. She was asked. She's the type that goes to the movies and is like, "Is blank gonna blank?" And I'm just like. And I just like sit there like and don't answer her questions, and she's just like freaking out. So my takeaway is I think it's a version of this story for everyone, and the people that want more from it are probably going to be the ones that read the book. I already have friends that said they've like lined up the audiobook in their library for listening on like their next long flight kind of thing. So I would give it a B or B+. It was really good at what it did, but because I went into it with all this knowledge of the more depthful, I think, way the story is told in the book, I couldn't help but feel a little bit let down. But I honestly feel that that's the age-old story of a lover of the book watching the movie. It's
exposition, but it's cool exposition. And it's exactly, the inherent difference between books and films is like the book can explain to you like the exact nature of Eva's security clearance and powers, like the idea that like the whole infrastructure explaining that she's essentially like the most powerful person in the world, but is literally just tasked with fixing this problem, and red tape does not exist. If she wants a battleship, she gets a battleship. They just have to do it, and things like that are fun to read, but not really super necessary to explain. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, it's an extra layer from the book that isn't here. But
I had friends that were like, what, who did she represent? What was happening? And I was just like, it was, the friend of mine kept going, like, he would ask a question. I would say, legitimately, it's explained really well in the book.
Yep.
And so he just got really tired of that answer. And so he's going to read the book.
It got me questioning my general recommendations for people, because I'm like, hey, read the book first. And then like you can, imagine the thing for yourself. And because once you've seen it on film, you're stuck with this director's interpretation of what that book is. So if you have something in mind later, it's going to fuck everything up for you. In this case, I think it's perfect to read after the film because I think it will enrich the experience.
Like Dustin, for your sake, I guess, because you're a non-book reader, there were no noticeable or large enough story departures that this, like I said, Cliff Notes version of the book.
Yep.
Like there was no, we don't want to do a giant squid monster, so we're going to make it Dr. Manhattan. That's like, the ending of The Watchmen kind of thing. There was no giant departure or deviation. Basically, I don't think there was a story beat that was different.
Nothing felt out of place to me story-wise.
From my end, it was like, so as you mentioned, I have not read the book. So I was coming at this completely blind. I didn't know anything about it. I think I had vaguely heard the premise and like, that was it. One, I agree with those people who said it makes you want to read the book after. I do want to read the book, but I also didn't feel that anything was missing. So in other words, like, when you adapt something from one medium to another, you play by a different set of rules. It's a very different skill set. And what you end up having to do is trimming down, cutting, figuring out like what's the most economical way of getting this point across. And also, is this point necessary to get across? And so, for instance, if you're talking about like what's her security clearance and all of this, like I understood enough. I got the impression that if she wanted a battleship, she could have a battleship. The intricacies of that, I couldn't tell you, but I understood the cause and effect of it. Yeah, things are bad, so she gets what she wants. I get it. Undoubtedly, there's more information than that. It's akin to, Lord of the Rings versus Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. There is certainly more information to be had, but is it necessary? I don't know. It's certainly enjoyable. This is a different medium, so for me, I didn't feel like, I bet that's explained in the book, and it's not here. I had enough. I had enough to understand the story. And to me, the story is very simple. The premise is do the thing or people die. The story, the actual heart of the story is here's a guy who has greatness thrust upon him. It's the old Shakespeare adage. It's this guy who a lot is, he's smart and he's not necessarily living up to the potential of his intelligence. And here he is being called on for more than he thinks he's capable of. And he goes and he rises to the challenge. He has to rise to the challenge. And pressure is immense. If there's no villain, I disagree because the time is the villain. Your own understanding is the villain. At times, at least in the film, your physical ability is the villain.
Nature.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's enough there for me to understand why this matters to him and then understand the choices he makes in the end that lead him down the path he goes. And so for me, yes, undoubtedly there's more information to be had. Undoubtedly Andy has this entire story mapped out in a way that, I don't just from watching the film. But having said that, the film works good enough, because this is a topic of conversation right now. They're remaking Harry Potter, right, as this series, this TV series. And the question is like, is this necessary or is this unnecessary? Like clearly there's already been, successful films. And my answer is always, there is undoubtedly more information to be had. The question is, do I understand? Is anything insufficient about what I have as someone who's just read the books or just watched the movies? And the answer is no. There's nothing insufficient. Is there more things about elf rights or whatever the thing is? I don't care. It doesn't. Sure, but it doesn't really matter to the story because the story is Harry, and with a book you can branch out and go through different POVs. You can, like zoom out a little bit. With a film, you can't. And so I don't feel like I'm missing anything in that regard. And same with this. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. So for me, the story really works. The buddy comedy aspect of it really works. The fear and the tension in First Contact is super well done. It's present. With Lord and Miller, you would think maybe it's just going to be a comedy through and through, but that's really tense. That first contact is really tense. And there's a lot of moments in this film that are very fraught with fear. It's a great thing, right? Because we always talk about on this show, like, you have to play all the keys of the piano. You can't just sit in one section. And so it's the same thing here. There's some scary things here. There's some funny things there. And it all works together to tell this really cool, beautiful story of friendship, and like found family and finding your purpose and all of this cool stuff, all in this, buddy comedy kind of thing. And it all really works. And so for me, I think this is Ryan Gosling's best role. What they did with Rocky in particular is really endearing. He deserves his place in like cinema history of like really cool sidekick characters that will become, bigger than the film itself. I don't know. I'd buy a toy. I'd buy a cool Rocky to have in my room here. He's better than this dude. Get out of here. Get out of here. Grogu. It's really well done and I enjoyed it. And it's been a long time since I watched a film and left and went, I don't really have any complaints there. It's not perfect, but I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, but another thing about it is this. It's great. Like, it's funny and it's tense and it's action packed and it's kind of everything you want out of a blockbuster. And whether the book was a blockbuster, I don't know, but the film is, and that's great. So I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. Good. See you next week.
The tone is very interesting for this because like Andy Weir's books are all kind of like, I actually haven't read Artemis, so I'm kind of assuming here, but like, The Martian and Project Hail Mary are both like, fairly lighthearted, but extremely serious stories where it's almost like it's a breath of fresh air to have, a certain amount of humor throughout, just because like, otherwise it's just too overwhelming. We sort of undersell how difficult it is for one actor to spend this much time on screen by themselves. Ryan Gosling's recent turn towards more overtly comedic roles rooted in drama rather than dramatic roles with sprinkles of comedy has been a really strong choice for him.
Not to put you on the spot, but like I'm struggling to think of other films of his recently, but that's mostly because of my own blind spot. What would you consider that?
Barbie being one, obviously.
Oh, gee, duh.
Come on, that's the big one.
That's the big one. Come on. Yeah, but I mean, like he. You
are not enough.
Oh, he had the stunt movie that didn't perform well, but I actually had a lot of fun with that movie.
The Nice Guys. That's a good one. Like his character's kind of a buffoon in that, but like. Is
that Paul Thomas Anderson?
No, Shane Black.
Shane Black, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know where he goes from here. I imagine he's got to do something dramatically different now because this feels like the crest of that wave, He
was a producer on this film, right?
He was.
Yeah.
Do you know any, not to, I do want to keep talking about the creative, especially like book stuff compared to film stuff. But do you know anything about like the production behind this? Because him being a producer, is that just kind of an inherent thing that happens when you're a large enough actor? Like you get a producer credit. I think it used to be, but like these days, like is it going the other way?
It feels like, it feels like actors diversifying and wanting more control over what they're making and just deciding to develop their own projects. So I imagine that, I can find it if somebody else wants to talk, but yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that at a point he's cast, he goes, okay, cool. I also want to produce. And that's just part of the contract.
I'd like some control.
That may be in name only, but yeah.
Yeah.
I was, and I probably should have done my research, but I was, when I saw that, I was suspicious of like, maybe he instrumental in like linking these people up. But again, Dustin and I were saying that like, Lord and Miller have an Andy Weir connection going back to optioning Artemis. So.
But MGM was trying to make the deal to produce Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling set to star and produce the film. So it feels like it's something that he was trying to do. Yeah. And then they hired Lord and Miller, who must have been fine with it because they were probably trying to make Artemis.
I kind of want anybody to jump in before me because all I really want to talk about is like the fun sciencey bits that I wish were in the film. But again, I have to admit that like that might not be for everybody.
Maybe I can take us there, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was how much I enjoyed the science in the film, that it like pivotal to the plot. It wasn't just science mumbo jumbo for the sake of like giving it credence. It was like the actual like math of this and the science of this thing is the story. You can't take it out. You couldn't tell the story without STEM. And that I think is refreshing. And also like the realism that everything is depicted as having is really cool. Like you can tell, even if I don't like understand the astrophysics of everything, I'm like, oh, I believe that all of this is documented, and like somebody somewhere has gone, no, that wouldn't happen because of this. And then someone, oh, okay, cool. As opposed to all the other sci-fi that we've been seeing lately where it's like, I don't know, they're just doing stuff.
I saw a fun video today. I think it was a Hank Green video where he was talking about like, so I think there's like an uncanny valley that happens when a sci-fi starts actually caring about the science. That's when you get more people pointing out the inconsistencies, because it's not worth pointing out inconsistencies when it's fucking Star Wars and it's just space fantasy and it's a setting and it's not science doesn't matter in those. It's magic and it's fantasy.
Yeah.
But the closer you get,
how many tachyons in the cosmic converter?
The closer you get to something trying to be a true like hard sci-fi, the more people are going to like balk at it. So like you had like people critiquing his work of like pipettes and preparing like microscope slate. What do you call it? Microscope slides, and like saying like, oh, and he doesn't have like a contained, what do they call, flow room or something like that, where like everything that he's working can be contained. They're like, he's pumping like this black, like the astrophage onto like a ton of it onto a slide, and like microbiologists were like, this is bullshit. You know, like, so there's a lot of like people that are coming out of the woodwork, but also those people are also very enthusiastic about how much it cares about the science. So it's like a splitting hair situation. And I won't go down that route. Like, I'm not going to be like, you know, wanting to go off on it like it's Gladiator 2 and I'm a historian, but you're trying to be so close to the science that all we can do is pick on it a little bit.
But is that not just visual dramatization? Like
it is. Like one of them was, well, he puts a sample into a centrifuge to spin it up, you know, for like equal disbursement, blah, 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 blah. And they put two canisters. You're supposed to put them on opposite sides so that your centrifuge is balanced. Yeah. They put them right next to each other, which would create an imbalance. And like so like chemists were like, but it doesn't really matter.
Because no one should be watching this film as their sole instruction for how to operate a centrifuge. They should be trained in a lab.
I just imagine Andy Weir sitting. Yeah, right. I imagine Andy Weir sitting like just off camera and going, "Pick your battles, Andy. Pick your battles, Andy."
So the cool thing about Andy Weir is that like he is not a master in everything that he's talking about. If you look at his like he has so many consultants that he goes to for a lot of things. Like Artemis is written from the perspective of a woman of Saudi Arabian descent. And like he had like a specific consultant that he ran all of his story points by and all this other stuff. There's a big thing about like, even when a Muslim society is on the moon, they're still praying towards Mecca as best as they can while on the surface of the moon. And it's like, anyway,
if you want the STEM tent to get bigger, you can't have a purity test when it comes to their representation in movies. It's like baby steps, man. The big picture is the movie is celebrating STEM. Don't nitpick it. Just let's let it keep being a trend. And then as we go back, all right, we've made like 300 STEM movies now. Can we make these a little better now? Like, you know, but if we're like the 14th movie that's about science ever, let's just build momentum. But the other thing I would say is that I saw a clip of Ryan Gosling saying, someone was asking about the equations on the whiteboard. He was like, how'd you memorize those? And he was like, I couldn't. It was too hard and I wanted them to be right. And so I just had Andy Weir in an earpiece and I said, can you just tell me what to write. And so whenever he's like scribbling and he's like, M squared. Okay, now to do the thing. Now do the thing. Do this. Like he's just feeding him the formula because he didn't want people to do that. He want people to just pause the film and go, "That's not real. Not a real thing."
I love those guys though. The guys that sit there and like nitpick every last detail.
I'm sure it's fun for a bit.
It's sarcastic. I hate those guys.
Until you realize this is your life. This is as good as it gets for you.
I guarantee you there will be a Cinema Sins on this, and it'll be like, "Oh, that's not what it would say." Ding.
There is like a small physics literacy win from what they didn't feel they needed to explain in this film. I think we, as a group of people, like who vaguely, know what general relativity is and stuff like that. But as a film thing, I think in the last 10 to 15 years, like within, not Inception, Interstellar being kind of like the first one that really kind of put it on the map for people who just have no idea what the hell that is. Like, excuse me, what? Like Matthew McConaughey comes back and like society has gone 80 years or something without him. And he's only aged like a couple of days or weeks or something. Yeah. And like a lot of people are like, I won't say their name, but I have a friend who every time he sees general relativity used in as like a thing in a film, he's like, I don't get it. Somebody explain it to me. And I've tried to personally explain it to him. I've tried to send him YouTube videos to explain it to him. For those in the know, there's one that I always go to is like the thought experience, like the train. If you know about like a bouncing photon on a train, anyway, and he just can't get it, but he understands that like it is a concept, and even if he doesn't personally understand it, he's now like willing to see it being used in sci-fi. So he got out of this film and he was like, it's like, dang, all people back on Earth aged again when our main guy didn't. I'm just going to have to trust you that that's real. I don't understand it. And the film, it does a little bit of explaining about like, how the ship is going to go such a significant portion of the speed of light that it's going to skew the passage of time for, from their perspective relative to Earth. And like, that is out there, and it doesn't have to get overly explained. I don't think anybody watching the movie was like, oh, I've never heard of this, because I feel like it's actually been in our media in a casual enough way for a long enough amount of time now that like, that's a fun thing that like should be played with more in sci-fi, but has a huge hurdle for the general masses to kind of like swallow that very weird pill about space-time and the nature of our universe. Yeah. And it's maybe not like assumed, but like they put it in this movie. They did not explain general relativity, but people have seen it as a concept enough to go, yeah, okay, I'm rolling with this. Yep.
That or it kind of flew under the radar, because I gotta tell you, I wasn't thinking about it at all during this.
You didn't. There was a very specific point when Huller, I can't remember her character's name, to be honest with you, is like reviewing the footage that they received back, and it took another 11 years for that to come back. But the Ringo and all the Beatles probes or whatever, they were able to shoot back at even faster fraction of the percentage of the speed of light. Going a certain distance always takes that amount of light speed time to do. So from the probe's perspective back, it was way shorter. And, for Earth's perspective, that's 11 years, 11 and a half or whatever Tau Ceti is. I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's like, I understand relativity, like, and when it comes to like interstellar travel, as real as I know it is, I'm just like,
it's still magic.
But how? But why? Like what?
Yeah.
Is it time just time?
The way I described it to a friend is that there's like one hard rule, and that like when the programming of the universe sees you going as fast as its fastest thing, it goes, you're going to screw up all my shit.
All the things. Yes.
You have to experience time faster, and they experience it normal for this. And it's just like, the way I've had to explain it is that we don't exactly know why, but we know that the universe basically pumps the brakes on you. I'll get off this point, but like, I do think that the movie, for how much it glossed over things, and I wish it didn't, I also think it's heartening the level of things they glossed over
because they don't expect their audience to be idiots, which y'all know me, like, is one of my big things is like, don't treat people like they're stupid. So you can call this a kids movie all you want, but people are going to learn like emotional intelligence from it. They're going to learn just like a reverence and knowing that like when shit hits the fan kind of thing, like science will be the thing that saves us from ourselves or from something else that means us harm. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I found that to be nice, even if I think the film was a much simpler version of the book.
Do you remember sophomore year? I wrote a story. It was a short story about time dilation. When I presented it, the teacher was like, what are you even talking about? Like Interstellar hadn't been made yet. But I remember I wrote it and I was like, no, it's a real thing. And he was like, okay. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't think he understood it.
You're like, you're my teacher?
I know you're just a writing teacher, but like, you got to know something. I do think that there's something to be learned. Why do I always take it to this? But like, okay, Breaking Bad, right? So
Connor's used to this. He's like,
he's used to it. He's used to it. Everything I know about filmmaking, I learned from Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad did this really cool thing, and like credit to Vince Gilligan, because what it was they would often start scenes or moments where the audience doesn't know what Walt is doing or doesn't know what a character is doing. And eventually we catch up. Sometimes we don't catch up, but we know they're working on something and we just have to trust that they know what they're doing. And we inherently trust that the writers know what they're doing. Same sort of thing with this. I think that even for people who don't understand like relativity and they don't quite understand how all that works, there is an element of like, again, don't treat the audience like they're an idiot. But if you just explain enough, if you just show me that the characters understand it and have confidence that what they're doing is accurate and true, and then the story treats them as correct, I'm really not going to question it. Even if I'm really dumb and don't know what they're talking about, I will roll with it. And I will just assume this is just something I don't understand, but I understand now enough that I can understand the character's motivations and the character's choices. That's all that I really need to know in terms of like how a screenplay works, right? As long as I'm not confused as to what is he doing and why is he making that choice, everything else is fine. And I can go along with whatever you want to tell me. And I just have faith that you've done the work, that you know what this is. If the writers treat the audience like they're smart, the audience will treat the writers like they're smart. And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that, okay, I'll buy it. Just give me what I need to know.
One of the best things about watching the movie was then getting in the car and literally like, I didn't realize that I just want to be a know-it-all as much as this, but like Becca was like, so what was that about? And I was like, well, in the book,
let me tell you.
And I just kept going with it. So like, Dustin, is there like one thing, and and Connor and I can like jump in and like explain something a little bit further. Like, was there one thing where you're like, well, what was that all about? I want to know a little more about that.
Not particularly. There was one thing, but I had to get up and leave the screening for like 2 minutes, and I think it was explained in there. And that's, I have no idea. I missed the whole thing about how he learned how to communicate with Rocky. I missed that whole thing. I was gone for like a minute and a half, and I came back and they were talking, and I was like, okay, I guess I missed it. I don't know.
Well,
he just came back and they were talking. Like, what?
So that's the only thing. That's the big question I had was like, I need to rewatch this movie because I have no idea.
You're forgiven for being like, that was fast, because it was legitimately way too fast in the film. Like,
it was very quick in the film.
Yeah. So like that first meeting, or maybe it's when he comes back or whatever, and the whole wall is translucent, which I think the movie actually did very subtly to the point where I missed it. But like the book does go into like a lot longer of an explanation of how that is done. And they start with like base level things. I don't think they communicated, like he held up a fucking clock and somehow the guy knew that it was a clock. Like that was them trying to say they find a universal constant. That is not the universal constant that they used in the book. I'm pretty sure.
I believe they do actually.
Really?
I think they do. I think there's something with numbers, and I believe it is a clock.
I thought it was something about base 10 or something. But the point is,
commonality among numbers is their starting point.
What the film did was there was like a montage of testimonial stuff. And it was like Grace speaking testimonially about like, and they kind of did it in the guise of like, I have this new roommate and he's driving me crazy, which was an insertion for the film. It was funny. It was funny. Sure. But the comedy and like the broing down element of the film was definitely ratcheted up from the book. Like there's definitely a camaraderie, but it wasn't like they get drunk and sit in a they called it the Don't Go Crazy movie room in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I saw set photos and that's what they called it. But no, so there's a lot. That was a good example of the movie basically going and showing like how they initially start talking. And then he's like, and so then I program my laptop to blah, 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 blah. But what the book does basically is that's a crutch that he has. And Rocky can basically understand English basically once he knows what each word means. So Rocky's intellect for like learning English as a language for Grace to speak to him is really quick. But then also by the end of the film, Grace, however many months into their working together, is actually able to hear the chimes the way that basically Rocky speaks and to understand that. So what the movie did was expedite all of that, but specifically expedited how he made like a vocabulary library on his laptop. And they also like kind of paired that with like the ship having like an AI that it really didn't have so much in the book. He was like calling it Mary and it was talking to him and stuff like that. That wasn't in the book.
No,
everything he did was like through monitor screens in the cockpit and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
Yeah, there were like, protocols and stuff in the ship. So where it's just like he couldn't freak out and turn it around as you see in the movie, but it wasn't like, an OS talking to him like, Jarvis or Friday or anything. But it was quick in the movie, which was fine. And I guess time was the main issue that they were thinking of there. But for me, that was like, this is kind of a big deal. It's not as simple as, and then we just figured out how to communicate, okay.
Yeah.
How? This is an alien. Right. It's not like it's not another human on like some remote island where it's like, okay, well, we both have toes and we, it's
that's
like
the universal constant for Huber.
Yes.
Toes.
All the important stuff I feel like was, I guess it's for plot, but like, his atmosphere, it's all what's it made of? It's boron or some shit.
No. It's ammonia.
Ammonia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rocky's atmosphere is high pressure ammonia at like 450 degrees centigrade. Another thing that's so awesome about the book is like it explains Rocky's physiology in a really interesting way. There's he's a YouTube science guy and I can't remember his name, but he had Andy Weir on and he was talking about Rocky's physiology and stuff. And like you think, oh, little rock alien, they're not going to explain it. Who cares? It's actually very explained. Like his rock stuff basically is like a chitinous kind of outer shell, and his nervous system and everything is very dissimilar to ours in that like his blood is basically mercury, which is liquid at those temperatures. And it moves that around to like heat and cool like air sacs in its body to basically like make. So we have muscles that are like fibrous tissue that via like electrical impulses from our brain, like either clench or release.
Relaxing.
And Rocky uses shifting hot mercury blood around his system to increase the air pressure within these sacs that move his limbs. So like it's all this really cool stuff and it like makes sense for the atmosphere. And Dustin, one of the things that I find compelling about Weir, and it's not to say that like I stumbled upon this by not, I'm not a writer, but like something similar that I thought about when coming up with like sci-fi stories together and things is like when you create a novel scientific scenario for yourself, it presents narrative opportunities to you. So when it came to like choosing a realistic kind of alien species for Rocky, I can't remember why he gave himself the certain scenarios that he did for his home planet. What they call it?
Oh, Iridani. 40 Iridani.
Which is a real planet. I think that's probably why he chose a real planet and said like, how could I propose an alien that could live in those scenarios? So like a lot of his writing is essentially not only putting the characters, but giving himself a science challenge to puzzle his way out of. And that's why I would think like Project Hail Mary and The Martian are very like much twins in that regard. And I think that's kind of evident by them having pretty similar ways of like having a character propose to you why I'm doing the science thing. Like Martian was very much based around the testimonials, and like Project Hail Mary kind of was, but then it also just had a more of a third person narrative kind of perspective than The Martian did. So
yeah, no, that's super cool. I love the thought that went into Rocky. And I think that in the film, it's just very easy to be like, I don't know, it's just rocks and they move.
Yeah.
But that he came up with all that's really, really cool. It puts him in the league of like a Tolkien ballpark, right? Where it's like, here's all this stuff that I've thought about and I'm going to tell you about it. It doesn't move the plot forward, but it's really freaking cool to read about.
He's like, 10% of it's for you and 90% of it's for me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was just wondering if Rocky was related to the monsters from Galaxy Quest.
Well, the big rock guy?
The big rock dude that did not have Mercury that was moving around. It was just rocks that came together.
There are like two MacGuffins, scientific MacGuffins, basically, within the story in the books that I obviously wouldn't blame the movie for not explaining. So, Dustin, one of the things that I think is underexplained in the film is it's known to the audience that they cultivate and use the astrophage as fuel. But if you know anything about the science about like how much energy it takes to approach the speed of light, it's infinite. But obviously, like getting even close to like a large percentage of it is incredibly taxing on an energy standpoint. And the reason why the ship, when it's in transit, has any gravity when it's not in its centripetal mode or whatever, is because it's at a constant rate of acceleration. So it is shooting out new energy at a constant rate to keep the acceleration of the ship at 1G. And that is so incredibly energy exorbitant as to be impossible for our abilities now. But one of the aspects of the astrophage in the book was that it has this like black shroud around it. Like light can't penetrate it, heat can't penetrate it. They can't do anything to it until like he punctures it with just a regular old ass needle. Like nothing can penetrate it. And it, Connor, remind me tell me if I'm wrong, but like in the book, it never fully explains it, but it has this like ability to like conform space-time around it to essentially like encapsulate like a crazy high level of energy storage for how small a single cell of astrophage is. And that's what that like black shroud is or whatever. And essentially like once it's triggered by like that CO2 signature or something, it lets out that energy. And that's how they use it as a fuel source.
Yeah, it's kind of like a teeny tiny like microscopic black hole in that sense.
And I don't remember how it's explained or anything like that, but I do think that the movie did nothing to explain that. And I don't think anybody would care because if you don't get told that, and you don't care to know like the physics around how much energy it's going to take to constantly accelerate for 5.5 years, turn, and then constantly decelerate at the same rate for 5.5 years or whatever, nobody's going to question it. But it is one of the more interesting things about the astrophage in the book, in my opinion.
What I understood from the film was the astrophage was able to provide the energy needed for that, for the travel, but also that it was in some way mysterious or unstable, or some like big question marks around it, but that it's obviously something that's impossible for us now. And so the astrophage essentially acts as a writer's convenience. As much as it's an inciting incident, it's also a writer's convenience to be able to do what super powered thing we need it to do within the context of the story. And like, I bought it. Yeah, I think, again, just like with Rocky, everything you just said, super cool. Doesn't move the story forward in the film. I actually do think that one would have been cool for the film, though.
Yeah.
But I got the gist. Like, this is a thing that can do things that nothing else we know of can do.
Yeah, and I think the nuances in the way that they would have explained that would get into the realm of like, why are we spending our time explaining this? And so
Yeah.
Connor, one of my favorite sequences from the book was because it led up to the thing that made me cry, which is not the fake out, spoilers, is not when you think Rocky's going to die or whatever. But one of the best sequences in the book is when Grace is left, they've parted. It plays out similarly in the movie, but there's a whole lot more that goes into like the science of like what happened. And so the other MacGuffin in the book, the xenonite, which is basically xenon, which is, I think, mostly a gas at most temperatures or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's a gas, but Rocky made it a metal, a solid.
Their MacGuffin technology is that they've turned xenon into essentially like an extremely durable metal to the point where like they don't. There's a whole other aspect to that I won't go into. But he raises it in those tanks. And for every generation of the Tau amoeba that they creates, it knows and learns inherently just, evolutionarily trait-wise how to permeate further and further through the xenonite gas. And there's this moment where he doesn't just like let out all the pressurized air in his ship to get rid of the Tau amoeba. Like he has to like thoroughly clean everything because one surviving scant element of it can eat all of his remaining astrophage, and he smells it because he just smells biologic rot. And so he's got this like canister of astrophage in his lab, and he's like, what is that? And he opens it up and it just smells like rotting garbage, and it's because the Tau amoeba has been like digesting it or whatever. And it's this huge panic moment, and like he has to do a shit ton more. And the very interesting thing is, and that he goes, I have to go find Rocky because it is eaten through his astrophage, and he's just adrift somewhere in space. Yeah. And they're already light years apart at this point because I think that he's been traveling for a couple of months. And one of the most interesting things about it, and it brings me back to this astrophage thing, is that the astrophage has so much energy that anything burning it, like it projecting out the back in a rocket engine type of thing, is going to let off so much energy as to basically be a beacon in space. He's looking for it and he's not finding it. And he realizes, oh, if I can't see Rocky's, I could see mine bounced off something in space. So he uses the insane energy blast from his own rocket propellant to then look and see if he can get a reflection of that back. And he basically uses his rocket like a flashlight, I think is the way he describes it. And that was my favorite.
Echolocation.
Yeah. It was basically radar pinging with an insane amount of energy, like a flashlight. And I thought that was so cool. And that was the one concept in the film that I was like, I wish I could have seen it, but I also know people are going to be like, what the fuck is happening right now? But they had the, what did they call that scope?
Petrovoscope.
They had the Petrovoscope like on the ship and they used it. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to do because he uses the Petrovoscope to see. And so he sees a ping and he's like, the only thing that can be is Rocky. And when he does find him and he meets him back on the ship and he's like, Rocky says to him, the first words he says is like, you came back. I remember I was like reading, it was like 3 a.m. I was like, it wasn't him almost dying and giving his life. It was literally him going like, you came back for me.
A couple of things broadly, this is not as specific as the things you're saying, but like just one thing that I love about the book, just about this story when it comes to moral ideals in science is like, the main MacGuffin, the astrophage, is both an incredible energy efficient tool and the root of the problem, an existence threatening, organism. And I love the idea that it's like, it's not just this evil cloud of sun eaters. It's just an organism. And by its very nature, it can also be used for scientific humans or beings to stop it. That's cool. And I also love that. I love that the idea is like the way we stop it is it's an organism. It has a predator. Surprise. Yay. Because otherwise we'd be kind of fucked. So luckily something eats this stuff. The other thing I like is that we don't waste any of the story on bickering with the military or with other countries about how do we protect ourselves and guard our resources. It's like this just went straight to, we all agreed like we're all fucked. And so we just decided to get on the same team and figure out how to stop this. And not only did we do that, and we're putting science into the hands of like the ethical and community minded people like Riley and Grace, but that extends to other species. It's not just about saving ourselves. Like this dude saved a whole other solar system of living things. Again, the arc of like too cowardly to elect to go on the mission himself. But once he was there, he was all fucking in, and not just, I'm going to save Earth. I had a chance to go home and now I'm not going to because these things need saving too.
I want to talk about that, and I guess we're in spoilers now. One thing that I think, and I don't know how the book handles this, from a film perspective, I both like what they did with it and also feel like there was at least some level of missed opportunity, but at the same time, I want to acknowledge that I think the missed opportunity that I'm about to propose here is cliched, and it is probably out of place in the tone of this piece. One of the more interesting parts of the film for me, obviously, from the character perspective, is the reveal that he did not elect to go on this mission, that he was kidnapped, essentially. That to me is it's a really well done twist, that looking back, I'm like, I should have seen that coming, but I just never thought there was nothing in the film that was like, it's leading up to a twist. It was just like, oh, and
in
like
a movie where it's
away.
like, sorry, Dustin, in a movie where like, lots of things are very set, like the science isn't simple, but like the goals and the antagonist is all very clear. What might be missing is what's interesting about this protagonist. And other than the stuff you talked about, greatness thrust upon him, like rising to the challenge, this added layer of you keep thinking throughout these flashbacks, all right, we're going to get to the moment eventually. Like, obviously, we know how he got involved with the mission. How did he get involved in being on the ship? And obviously we're going to reach some point. What happened to the alternates? And then we find out it's like, oh, I guess it's gonna be him. So now we're going to see the scene where he chooses and he doesn't. And you're like, oh shit, that's insane.
It's so cool
it's
because
so good for his character.
Juxtaposed at a point in the story, and my mind's blanking on exactly when, but it's like right around the same time as like the idea of him going back for Rocky and like, the sacrifice that Rocky made for him and blah, blah, and all these things happening.
Rocky keeps telling him he's brave.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's juxtaposed with this. So the idea of, okay, what's interesting about this character? Well, I guess what's interesting about the character the film would have you believe up to this point is that he's very self-sacrificial. Like he's doing this for the good of everyone else. And here he is, he's going to, sacrifice it all for Rocky. He's like very giving in that way. He's brave. He's a hero. Cool. I guess the idea that we're trying to take away from this is like, this is sort of the ideal man. Like, be like this guy. Be compassionate and be kind. And okay, great. Cool. Got it. And then here's the actual twist, which is he's not as good as you think he is. He's not what you think he is. That's a really well done moment. My narrative confusion here, and it's not really confusion, it's like that maybe it could be clearer, is with the flashbacks, are we to assume that what we as the audience are seeing is the pieces of his past returning to his brain throughout the story?
Yes, I was about to ask you as the next segue. Basically, Dustin, as a watcher of the movie, did you feel as if he was regaining his memory as the film went? Because I honestly don't think that was obvious.
I don't think so either. It's something that I had to.
Like at the beginning, yes, but you feel like a couple scenes later, he's like, oh, I remember everything.
Yeah. But it's because within the actual, a story, he's not actually playing off of that. Like in a traditional structure, you might have a moment where he remembers something and that helps him in this next piece, right? Like, oh yeah, that's like the thing. And even if he's not making the connection, we are. And so you'd have that sort of that structure. And it didn't feel like the things happening in the B story flashbacks were impacting the now A story.
Yeah. Essentially at the top of every current timeline part of the book, chapter of the book, whatever he just was talking about, Grace essentially addresses it with almost the very first sentence of the next chapter. So what you're touching on is a certain element of the story that I think is lost in the film. And it's probably because you have genres in film more than I think you do in books. Like books can do a lot with what they've got, page wise for you. And there's a mystery element of Project Hail Mary that I think, like, and I'm not talking about how we solve the problem with the astrophage. Like, it's literally the mystery of who he is and him piecing back together his memories and stuff is really lost. The opening chapter or two of the book is him he's in an enclosed thing. There's no indicator other than just like general kind of like atmospheric sound and stuff, like of engines and technology and stuff. He has no idea he's in a spaceship for the first couple of chapters because he has no means of seeing that. But he uses inference in his knowledge that he doesn't know where he gets it from to decide. He's like, I'm in fucking space. And I think it was something to do with the inertia of the situation. Anyway, but you are very correct. And that's what I think the movie kind of biffed it on in that regard, is that that's a huge revelation in the book. And I think it was in the film, but I don't think it was supported by any other structural stuff in the story. Other than making the character out to be less of an ideal and more of a humanized character.
Well, and I think you could absolutely watch the film and think of it as like, these are scenes that we, the audience, are seeing that he either is already privy to or he's not. By the end of it, when it's revealed that he was kidnapped, he sort of like mentions the idea that like he's, that maybe that's the case. So my thought was, okay, when did he realize this? Is it beginning of the film? All of these things flooded back to him and we're just now seeing it? Or has it truly been real time? Like as we see it, he's remembering it. And I think in the film, you could read it either way. But I think it works better if he's remembering it as we're seeing it. This is a difference. If I were writing it, and I don't know how the book handles it, but if I were writing it, I certainly would have a little more angst in the I don't remember element. Like I would try to manufacture scenarios in which it's important that he remembers, and then the frustration of I can't. I can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue, or I remember a piece of it, but I can't remember the whole thing. I don't know. Like that would be very like dramatically compelling. And then when the reveal happens, I would push him to his lowest moral, ethical point where he's going, I don't even think I'm a good person. I don't think I should be here. And the idea of breaking down in that moment and just saying like, I finally remember how I got here and I'm not even who I thought I was. I can't do this. I don't, whatever it is, like way more existential crisis of like, one, you've been kidnapped. Two, everything I've thought about me, I guess I'm a hero. I guess I decided to do it. I don't remember doing it, but I guess all that's gone. And then also the idea of like, being like the words of Rocky would sting at that point, like that he's a hero, that he's brave. Those words would hurt. And I would certainly try to like jab that in as much as I can. And then even push him to the point of like, I don't think I am going to save Rocky. The temptation of becoming what you now know you are and just settling for what you have always been, I think is really rich thematically. Or do you become the better person? That's the core of that character. And so I wish that the film had hammered that more, but it may also be a little too heavy-handed for this tone, or, it may be out of place in the story to have a moment where he's really like filled with self-doubt. Maybe that's just not necessary in what this film is. I don't know about the book, but like, it feels like if I were writing it, I certainly would have gone that direction, but I don't know if that would be the right direction.
I can't remember the specifics of it, but it is addressed. Connor, do you remember like the chapter after he remembers that, what his mindset is?
No, I can't remember how it's handled in the book.
Like discovering that repressed memory, I think would absolutely alter every decision he makes for a moment before Rocky sets him straight and says, again, this is all very schmaltzy, but like before Rocky sets him straight and it's like, no, you are brave because look at what you've done. Yeah, that's what you did, but look what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like that's really rich. You got to find like a more subtle way to do it than that. But I wish the film had hammered that a little more because that's really cool.
Yeah. One little thing about the handling of that revelation. I don't think it's a character assassination of I can't remember her name. Gosh, Huller's character.
Ava.
Ava, is that her name?
Yeah, Eva.
I don't think it's like a full assassination of her character, but weirdly the film treats her more villain-like in that moment than the situation called for in the book, because I think so, because in like one, a lot of her decision, they say that she's the one making all these decisions, but most of her decisions are made for her. She's literally just there to assess what choice should be made, which sounds like she's making the decisions, but like the reason why it had to be Grace is not explained in the film. They make it out to be like he is the most logical. He has to be, he's being called to this situation. No, but in the book, the reason why he is chosen is more of a Venn diagram overlap situation where, yes, he's the most logical one, but the biggest reason is because this coma thing this experimental coma procedure that they have to put people under is very dangerous, and only a certain like biological genetic indicator is like safe enough to undergo it. So they only have like a list of like 100 people, and the overlap with astronauts was already so low that they all
which
of their
is
candidates,
why those other two die.
Well, I think they all had it, but it was still extremely dangerous. So the three astronauts are a redundancy. Yeah. And so Grace had this genetic marker, and essentially her decision was made for her. She's like, you've been here along every step of the way. Some of the larger discoveries, which I think the movie played up too much. Like Grace was a cog in a very large machine. Yeah. But it's like, basically you were there for this, you're there for blah, 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 blah. But legitimately, you can survive this coma thing, and nobody else has your skill set that is still alive because we had 2 astronauts explode. So, and so like in the book, she is colder in general. She's not warm. She doesn't sing karaoke. She is not a comedic thing other than her dryness every now and then. Yeah. And so in that moment, she's not made into a monster. She's literally just doing the next logical decision. Yeah. But in the film, she goes from like, I have a heart underneath, but also I'm going to fucking drug you and put you on a ship and send you into space just because I think you should go. And I felt like that was a weird thing.
The genetic marker thing is really cool, and I wish they had done that.
Yeah. That would have easily been explained. Like Milana Weintraub at the table as one of the Russian things, she could have just said that. It could have just been
a throwaway. But I also think that you do have to go villainous with her character. Like it, to me, again, if we're viewing this through Grace's eyes, the idea of like throughout the film, we're seeing her as like initially cold, then maybe she's warm and maybe I can get through to her. Maybe we're friends. Maybe we're cool. And then the turn being like so drastic, like, oh yeah, no, she's not cool at all, is how he would perceive her. Mm-hmm. And so I think it only makes sense that we perceive her the same way, that it's not like maybe there's a mental part of him that would realize like, she had to do, like, it was logical. Yeah. She had to do that. But there's an emotional part of him that would see her as so villainous. What she did was not consensual. That's a huge violation of his, of everything, of his life. So I like that it went villainous with it. And I think they could have pushed it further. I would have loved to have seen her be way colder about that. There still seemed to be a glint in her eye of like, I'm really sorry it had to come to this. I would have removed all that. It would have been, this is what we're doing.
She could throw his hacky sack down the sewer.
Yeah, I hate your hacky sack.
That's the extra villain element.
I'm going to kill your students if you don't get on this. Like, it could have been whatever. I am confused, though, that at the end, they come back to her, revealing that she now knows, like, oh, it was a success. Great. And, whatever, she's on this frozen ocean or whatever. I almost wish she was somewhere else. And I don't know if that's the idea of, like, we're seeing her in a less negative light now, and so is he. Like, he's like, oh, cool, I've made a good friend and I'm going to stay up here and it's going to be cool. So I don't have any ill feelings towards you, lady. And so now we don't either. But like, I would have gone the other way. Either I just wouldn't have shown her again, or she would have been like dead or something. Like, they would have come back and she was like dying and like, and then, they're like, hey, he succeeded, and she can't hear it. She's already dead.
Well, so in the book, they don't go back and show you Earth getting the probes and it working. You just the Iridians just tell them like, hey, your sun's back to its full luminance. Looks like it worked.
Great,
right? And so
prefer that.
Yeah, but I don't mind any treatment of her in the movie beyond the karaoke, because I thought that was too movie-ish. I liked her just being like this blunt logic machine. That's her function. I had a lot of fun reading her as a character in the book, just like not diplomatic at all, just like talking about like just in very blunt terms, like, yeah, like this is the situation we're in, and like unfortunately, like this is where we're at, and I can ask for things and I'll get them because everyone knows that that's for the good of the mission. I don't have a personal stake in this. I'm not clouded by any emotional wins when I make decisions. It's just, this is what the mission needs. And so in that sense, I don't see her as villainous at all, non-consensually drugging him and putting him on this ship for the suicide mission, because in any other context it would be, but in this, with what her character's been established to be, it would have been strange if she hadn't been that or done that, other than what the plot needs. I see it more as like, oh, that does suck for you, buddy. And but because my overwhelming emotion in that scene is, oh, he didn't choose to. And I'm not so much focused on what she's doing. I'm more focused on my realization that he's not this altruistic do-gooder that I thought he was. I'm not so much mad at her for doing it because I get it. And I think he gets it. And he just hasn't accepted it yet. And so like at the end of the movie where she's not in like a gulag, she's not being court-martialed for this. It's like, again, we gave her broad powers. And even though that wasn't cool, we're all alive because of it. So mission accomplished.
She is a villain. She isn't a villain. And it's literally because of the morals of the situation are really relativistic, pardon the pun. And one of the things that I think they could have done was, again, because I feel like that it was a heel turn in the movie in a way that it never was in the book. Like, it was a revelation and it informed a lot of like character stuff about Riley and Grace, but it wasn't a reveal for her character, because along the way, like, for example, Dustin, one of the things that they do in the early days is she approves the nuking of the polar ice caps.
Right. That's right.
To essentially release more water into the ecosystem of the Earth, to increase warming of the planet to offset the cooling of the sun. Yeah, for whatever amount they can. It literally buys them like, what is it?
I can't remember how many years, but it maybe a couple of years, I think.
Yeah. So like along the way, she's making terrible decisions that somebody has to make. And so like, you can think of her as a villain for, some reasons, but also like when she does a thing, Riley and Grace saves 6 out of 9 billion people on the planet by the time his data gets back or something like that. And like, what is one man worth? Is it just one person whose soul is damned by that decision, or is it everybody that benefits from it? And it's like, that's an interesting take on the character itself as well. It's kind of like they're like Stellan Skarsgård character from Andor or something. Like, what demons can a man saddle themselves with for the benefit of other people?
It's an ethics question at the end of the day. It's like the trolley problem almost. Like, okay, well, I'm sorry you have to go on this spaceship, but the window we're trying to leave this in is critical, and the time and resources we have are critical. And I'm really sorry because you're a nice guy, but you need to stop being a pussy and get on the spaceship and save the world, okay?
That's just what she should have said.
Yeah, just stop being a pussy about it.
It would sound a lot more elegant with her like German accent, I'm sure.
It doesn't go as far as to tell you explicitly how much time has passed in certain areas. Do they say it's 4 years to take the probes to get back?
I think they do. I don't remember specifically.
They do mention a time. It's years, yeah.
Because that's how long it takes
4 years for him, from his perspective.
The trip out there is 4 years and 8 months. Some 11.9 light years from Earth, but due to the time dilation and traveling 92% the speed of light, Hail Mary arrives quicker.
It's like from the Hail Mary's
his perspective,
right?
But from Earth, it has to be more than 11.9, so it's probably like 12 or 13 years or something.
Jesus,
for him to get there.
If memory serves, I think he wrote on the whiteboard that a return trip was like 11.7 years or something.
13 or 13. I remember the word 132 or something.
Yeah, something. I don't remember.
But I must have missed a decimal because I was like 132 years. That can't be right. That doesn't match the timetable or like even with cryo. Come on. So yeah, it must have been.
To Earth, she's just real old.
Hurry. They take approximately 12 to 13 years to return to Earth from the Tau Ceti system.
There you go.
While the journey feels shorter to Ryland Grace due to time dilation, means over a decade passes on Earth. Damn. Yeah. So basically the trip like out there is faster.
It's like 25 round, like basically she is like 25 probably ish years in the future.
Which is why the time was so important because it's like in 30 years, people are going to start starving to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to do this now.
No, it's like 30 years, a quarter of the Earth's population will be dead.
Yeah.
So like
they're already behind. They're already going to be behind.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, that happens. And then this says, so 16 years later, Grace is on Arid, but they don't really talk about, this is hard.
Well, so let's talk about that ending. I really like the idea that he settles there and doesn't go back to Earth and like
they build him a giant terrarium.
Yeah,
the movie added the whole like Truman Show, element to it.
Yeah,
he just had like a hab that had a window into his classroom.
Yeah, but they're like, we're going to give you a fucking lake and a sky
with a fucking lake and surf. You know,
There's he has like a wave pool.
I'm just picturing a rock guy version of Ed Harris just being like, turn on the sun
with a little beret.
Yeah,
do the sun.
The rock with the beret, the little beret, the little headset,
the little glasses.
Ryland.
That's so funny.
I just imagine he's like got a hamster wheel and like there's one of those little like drip feeder things.
There's a rock next to the Kristoff one, a rock that looks like Paul Giamatti, and he's like, he's gonna drown. He doesn't even care. Increase the wind. No. Sorry.
One of us has watched the Truman Show very recently.
Yeah, I did. Watched it right.
Paul Giamatti's in the Truman Show.
I feel like at the end of this, like there's an SNL sketch that's forthcoming, I'm sure, of this exact thing, and it's going to be, you know, like Grace's wedding day, and he's marrying one of the rocks, and you know they got little rock babies, and like I know that's going to happen. Someone's doing that.
I didn't get the impression when I read it that it was children versions. I thought it was like more collegiate kind of like vibe, like
just as young Eurydians.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah. I knew he was teaching. My thing was I couldn't remember if he was offered to go home or if he was just told simply it worked. You know, and in the movie they're like, we can like fuck with your ship and make go again. And in the book, he contemplates going home, which would imply that he could, but I'm not sure. Rocky is like, that feels like a movie thing. Like, by the way, we got the blah, blah, blah fuel for your ship.
It felt like the spinning top of this movie.
Y'all, it's really late. And all I can think of right now is is like the day where Grace goes, I'm really homesick. And then like he like wakes up one morning and there's like one of the rock dudes and he's in like a Burger King visor and he's like, here's your hamburger. Like I just, I don't know.
It's a McDonald's. The McRib is back. And he's just like
trying to make him feel at home.
We studied your culture.
Yeah.
Here's your DoorDash.
Someone walks by and goes,
a big thing on you.
Someone goes, I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm walking here. Forget about it. Hey.
They bring him an AR-15. He's like, what am I supposed to do with this? He's like, I don't know. Everybody's got one.
You love them, right? I just want to see. He turns on like a fake TV and they're acting out movies.
They're watching Seinfeld.
Did you ever watch the... There's a Futurama where the Omicronian aliens come to Earth because they stopped getting broadcast of like Ally McBeal 1,000 years ago. And they're like, but it's not Ally McBeal. I think they called it McNeil or something.
Yeah.
Where is young attorney professional at McNeil? Because they think it's like a documentary about someone from Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Classic. Sorry, y'all are talking and my brain is just imagining rock dudes doing different things.
We've reached that point of the show.
I'm just imagining Rocky. He's got a wig and he goes, I'm out.
the bet. Yeah. Someone was photoshopping on all of like Ryan Gosling's big films like Rocky onto it, like The Notebook.
Oh, cool.
They photoshopped Rocky in place of Rachel McAdams.
Yes.
Also in the Barbie movie, I think Rocky's driving the car, like Ken's sitting in the back of.
I'd like to see some of this stuff. None of this stuff ever makes its way to me.
Oh, where was it? I think it was on like Screen Rant or something.
I imagine it'd be easy to just have a reverse shot. Like, what do you want? And the Rock's just like. It's like
just picture them all in Seinfeld outfits now. Like it's so good.
One of them's balding. There's a taller Rock with the Kramer's hair.
Yeah, Kramer's hair. There's the one that's dancing like Elaine.
The little kicks.
Yeah, it's just a shot of Rocky doing stand-up.
Yeah. We should end this.
Hooper, you should read Artemis.
Okay.
It's basically a way bigger story.
Yeah.
The character still uses science, but it's not from a novelty standpoint. It's they live on the moon and their entire like existence has to do with the concepts that they perform.
It sounds like there's more people too.
Yeah. Main character is basically a smuggler who has just been trying to get it like to go legit and be like an EVA specialist for like the tourism industry on the moon because that's the only way to make real money or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's very similar, but it's basically okay. And it's funny that he wrote Project Hail Mary after that one because it feels like he went, okay, I can't do this science MacGyver thing forever.
Again, yeah.
Small bottle science MacGyvering. And so it takes more into account like what would human settlement on the moon like hundreds of years after it's been, or like 100 years after it's been established, be like kind of like the mob on the moon. And like, I don't know. It's very interesting and very good. And I think it would make a good film, but I also think this is a much easier film to make than that one.
Did you ever see Ad Astra, Kellan?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
I liked it. I thought it was too dry for its own good.
It's pretty dry, but like, did you like the like economics of how travel worked?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. It starts getting a little funky once he's out by Saturn
like
or
Neptune.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, yeah, you're right. Neptune. And also like the thing that he has to go out there to stop, like scientifically doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like the threat it poses. I'm like, this whole movie cares about science. And then like it cares about some like fucking gravitational pulse thing or something from a ship. I don't even remember, but like, I remember that being stupid and the climax not being satisfying at all.
It's kind of a melancholy father-son story at the end of the day, but it's really gorgeous to look at. And so for a movie that takes place, largely in space, it's really good looking.
I think it was so bizarre that they hired Brad Pitt for it because the character is obviously not supposed to be charming or to like he's supposed to be somber. It's supposed to feel very, I don't know, like introspective, and he's basically going on like a personal journey while going on his huge journey.
Yeah.
They hired Brad Pitt, who the only reason anybody wants to see him is so he can be charismatic. And he is so boring in that fucking movie. And they could have gotten anybody else.
Well, when you produce the film,
he did?
Who gonna star in this? Fucking me.
Why was he like?
Who?
I don't know.
Plan B.
He's not
Plan
compelling
A. Cast me.
He's not compelling to watch in that movie. But that does have a space elevator collapse scene, Dustin. Which
It was really
pretty
cool.
fucking tight.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was pretty
All
tight.
All right. I might have to watch it.
Yeah. It's lovely. Sort of. It's lovely to look at. You might feel like shit afterwards. But
The trailers were so funny because they were like people driving moon rovers and shooting guns at each other. And I was like,
that's one
what
scene.
the fuck is this? And then you watch it and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It would make sense that there are some people who are like, it's cool that we can live in space. How can we steal from people still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we make it worse?
Yeah. Like how can we make this really awesome thing feel dangerous? Moon pirates. Yeah, it's like
Moon pirates. Got the moon mob.
Moon Max. Fury Road.
Moon Max.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
George Miller, he could probably pull that off.
Yeah.
He's like, how can I make Australia look like the moon?
I'd watch Moon Max.
I'd watch Moon Mobsters. Kellan mentioned that. That sounds dope.
That's Artemis.
That's Artemis.
These sound like reality show, like future, like in the future reality show. Welcome back to Moon Mobsters. Hey,
Max Moon.
Who took my rocks?
It's the testimonial to camera. It's I was over there, and Gianni, he took all my moon rocks. I was saving those.
Tracksuits and like pomade, but they're in like a like a big glass space. Like so you hear him on a speaker, like he's trying to smoke, but he's going. Hey,
no open flames in space, brother.
Like some matches.
Hey, I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm trying to smoke up in here.
Hey, I'm moonwalking here.
Moonwalking here.
All right, you guys. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
I'm gonna hit stop.
Forget about it.
Stop it.
Oh.
You know what we do when this happens?
I don't know. We're just doing stuff.
Hey, we got the blah, blah, blah fuel for your ship. You need to stop being a pussy and get on the spaceship.
The McRib is back.
Motherfucker.